Like, I got home from the Comedy Store at like 2, and then I watched some goofy. I've been on this UFO documentary kick.
Watching UFO documentaries?
Yeah, I told you it was David. I started talking about it.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah. Did you have something specific that you saw recently?
Yeah,
the documentary?
2 of them. One of them is Area 51, Bob Lazar and Area 51 and Flying Saucers. It's a documentary on this guy who claimed that he worked on these alien ships in Area 51 in the 1980s.
That gave me chills.
As time's gone on, more of the things that he said have proven to actually be true.
Like what?
Including an element that he talked about, element 115, I think it was called.
Like an organism from outer space?
No, an element, like a man-created element, like there's carbon.
Right.
There's an element that they created that he talked about way before it was ever publicized. And he talked about this thing, and then it turned out to be true. He talked about these, there's these hand monitors that you would put your hand on this thing, and these metal lines would detect the distances in the bones of your fingers, the exact distances, and everyone is different. It's like a signature thing. Mm-hmm. And that they could find out if it was you or not you that was trying to go through. So the way they would scan people, like bioscan, would literally measure the bones in their fingers. And people said that was horseshit.
Wild.
He talked about this in the 1980s. People said it was horseshit, but then later on turned out, no, they did have that in Los Alamos. They did have that in Area 51, and that this technology was very, very
advanced.
Not just very advanced, but it was not well known at all. Like, very few people did. And this guy who was creator of this documentary, it was very difficult for them to get photos of this hand scanner. But this hand scanner did exist, and existed exactly as this guy described it.
In the 80s, I mean, that's super progressive for that time.
There's also
even
people
for now
that did approve his top secret clearance to get to this place. They know that he actually worked there. There's people that worked in the same Los Alamos lab with him. They tried to say he never worked there, but his name's on the manifest. It's very strange. It's like they've tried to erase parts of this guy's past because he filmed a bunch of their crafts as they were flying around. Like, he knew what days. This is the thing. That thing right there, you put your hand on that, and it actually measures the distance of the size and length of your bones.
That looks like something that's inside of an escape room in L.A.
It does. It's hilarious. It's so true. But
Doesn't it?
I went into this documentary skeptical.
As you should.
Yeah, but I'm so done with all those things. But listen to this guy talk for a while. After a while, I was like, what if he's telling the truth? Like, what if he is actually telling the truth? Because if he's actually telling the truth, there is some part of the government that had access, at least in the 1980s, to alien technology.
I mean, it probably is. There probably is some truth to that. Crazier things have happened. And also, like, just your mentality of believing him is probably the same thing that made Dr. Malachi Lovejoy Robinson III become successful.
A con artist?
Yeah. I mean, either this dude, there's validity of what he's saying in this documentary, which I can't wait to watch, or he's just really great at painting a picture. Some people are so good at convincing you
that's true
of truths.
True.
There's, people with like borderline personality disorder and every sort of spectrum in between there. They become really good manipulators.
That is true. However, usually they do that in more than one avenue.
Absolutely.
And this guy's not doing that.
Yeah, so if it's just a documentary, then...
Yeah, also hasn't varied his story. Like, I mean, he might have, like, changed the way he says things in terms of, like, the words he chooses, but the actual story is exactly the same as he was telling it a long time ago.
Is this a self-produced documentary, or is there a production company involved?
No, a production company.
See, that's where it's like, okay, there's probably some validity to this.
But this guy's been around for a long time. I remember reading about him and watching videos about him, 20 years ago. I
mean, don't you think you're somebody who, you said, and I know this about you, you love space. You're obsessed with that, the idea of what we are in the solar system and beyond. Like, how impossible is it to think that there could be a creature that could breach our atmosphere with some advanced technology and be able to just sort of chill, scoot around, scoots, magoots, check us out, and fucking peace out back up to wherever they're from.
I don't think that's how they would do it, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know exactly. They scoots, magoots. Yeah, they just kind of cruise around, they're looking at us.
Well, he had an interesting analogy. He said if you brought an atomic engine to these people that lived in the Victorian era and said, hey, this is a nuclear power plant. Like, here, check this out. They would fuck with it. They'd wind up getting sick from radiation. They'd wind up dying. No one would understand what it was or how it worked. They would never figure it out.
Right.
He goes, why would we assume that this is only from that one time with this one device? Why wouldn't we assume that there'd be some other technology that maybe we'll create someday in the future? I'm paraphrasing him very poorly.
Yes, it's okay.
Or someone
You're a
else
scientist.
from another planet would create that we wouldn't understand at all. And he said, and that's what we were dealing with when we were trying to back engineer the propulsion systems that these things use. They use some gravity-based propulsion system. And it was something that would manipulate gravity in front of it. It's very, look, I'm too stupid to know the science of it. I don't know if he's like if you were
You're
a scientist.
You're supposed to know these things.
Not yet. I have to get my degree.
Joseph
I need
Rogan.
to get a degree so I can call myself a doctor.
You should.
I just want to get an honorary one like Cosby had.
Why? It's gone now. He doesn't have it. He doesn't have it anymore.
Back.
They
The
took that
honorary
shit
ones
back.
they could take back.
Yeah, take them back. He can't keep those.
Yeah.
He can't keep that.
Actually, I think he wrote an essay, and that's how they gave him his doctorate.
I mean,
that's neither here nor there.
Gross.
Probably got more than one doctorate.
I'm sure he did, and he didn't deserve them. But I think, there's got to be stuff out there.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
But I like to say there's not. It's like, stop.
You think
Stop
this is just
dwelling
it?
No, I don't think it is. But it is entirely possible. I use that phrase too often.
And it's entirely possible?
Yeah.
You got to get a mashup of all of those.
Oh, it's already out there. Yeah. It's hilarious. It's like 150,000 of them.
That needs to be on a shirt.
It's possible that we're the most advanced. That's possible.
It is a possibility.
Too, because something has to be the most advanced.
Absolutely, and something has to be the least. We could also be on that part of the spectrum.
Sure.
Maybe we're the last to evolve.
It's 100% possible. Like if there's an infinite number of life forms out there, like if there's an infinite number of planets and there's an infinite number of Earth-like planets that can have beings like us on it, who's to say that we're not the most advanced? Maybe they're all like people from the 1820s.
Yeah, they're
they
still
haven't caught up to us
chiseling
yet.
shit. They're still doing,
I don't think they chiseled in the 1820s.
stone and chisels. But I'm talking like old shit. They don't even have pens and papers yet.
Like the orangutan that was fishing with a spear.
Exactly. There's just a bunch of advanced orangutans that are like, putting hieroglyphics in caves.
It's possible.
It is very possible.
It's totally possible.
But because we're just basing it off of our own experience and
Right.
perception of what we have been exposed to. We have no idea.
The other really interesting scenario is that they're time travelers.
Ooh, that's exciting to think about.
What they are is some being from the far distant future that understands that it could come back and observe us and see like where things went wrong, where things went right, but do so in a way that's as minimally intrusive as possible and occasionally interfere with things.